All right, so the plan today is to do what's due this week, tomorrow, 6-2, do some questions from that, and then maybe hit 6-3, which is for next week, do some questions there as well. And depending on how well it's clicking, I'm not going to push beyond that and do 6-4 if we're okay with those two. So we'll see what happens. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. We'll see what happens. I don't necessarily have anything I want to pad into the time to artificially make us take longer than we need to. I've given chapter 6 a lot of breathing room to make sure we have time to fully process each step along the way. And if that means that we're progressing pretty well and we find places where we're up to speed, then that's good news, really. So let's look here at chapter 6-2. Let's take a preview of this and look at some of the kinds of questions. This is a step 3 and comprehensive that includes step 3 questions for weighted average process costing. So we're going to be focusing on questions, primarily questions that ask, what is the cost, either direct materials, conversion cost, transferred in, or total cost in ending work in process? And what is the cost, again, those 4 possibilities, direct materials, conversion cost, transferred in, or total cost for units completed and transferred out, or just units completed, or some phrasing that's like that. We might have to do a little bit, we might have to do a lot. I might provide, in this case, for example, this question right here provides step 2 for you. Those are the cost rates. I've already done that work for you. And all you have to do is apply these rates to figure out what the ending WIP balance is over there. So let's look at this real quick. In fact, let's give you a minute. I'll try to get just the right balance of time. So if this is right at your developmental level, or this is right at the level of approximate development for you, this is a good question for you to learn on, then you're getting enough time on it. But if this is you're well past this is easy for you, then you won't be stuck too long. So let's give you a minute or so, a minute and a half maybe, to work on this problem right here. Look through it and let's see if you can get the answer for it. I'll work on the answer over here on phone and paper, so we can leave Excel up there. Who wants another 10, 15 seconds to keep working on it? Okay. All right. What did we get as an answer here? A, B, C, D, E. Major on. Got B? Okay, good. That's right. How'd you get that?
for direct materials is like 1, and then for conversion cost is 20%. So I'm multiplied each of those by 800.
Okay.
And then I multiplied
Keep going.
MCC by its cost or
Yeah.
cost, and then I totaled those.
Excellent. Yeah. So I think I'm doing what you laid out here, and then we sum these to get B here. Excellent. Yeah. So we took the physical units in ending WIP, which is 800, and multiply it by the percents complete for the two categories of cost that we have, the respective percents complete. This sentence right here tells us that all direct materials in ending WIP must be 100% complete because direct materials are added at the very beginning of the process. If it's in ending WIP, that means it is in process, means it has started its process. So all direct materials have been added. So the equivalent units in ending WIP with respect to direct materials is 800. The equivalent ending WIP, the equivalent units in ending WIP with respect to conversion costs, though, is 160 because it's 800 times that 20% right here. And then we copy over the two rates that we have, 175 for direct materials and 150 for conversion costs. And we just multiply those cost per equivalent unit rates by the equivalent units in ending WIP to get the cost in ending WIP. And then you sum those because just asking for the balance, the ending WIP balance, which would mean total. It's implied in there that this is total amount. So we sum those two and we get 164,000. Excellent. Anybody else feel pretty? That came not easy, but it came eventually. It worked out. Okay. Any parts that you want me to go over and like slow down? Yep.
I had the same problem, but mine had the 50% complete with respect to conversion costs.
Right. Yeah. If that were the case here, then we would say, the ending WIP units are only 20% complete with given this fact pattern. They're only 20% complete with respect to conversion costs. That means they haven't hit that threshold, so this would be a 0. And if this were the exact same question, just with that change, which, in case you didn't hear it, it would be, instead of this sentence saying, it would say all direct materials are added at 50% of the way through with regard to conversion costs. Then we would end up with this number right here. There'd be no cost in ending WIP with respect to direct materials, but we'd still have the 24,000 for conversion costs. Okay. I didn't get terribly imaginative with the distractors here. I just had the direct material cost and the conversion cost and the I don't know answer. All right, this is a very similar, the exact same kind of question, asking for total ending WIP, and I give you, it's even easier. I give you the rates and the equivalent units. So I start you right here with those numbers right there, effectively. 5,700 and that 5,000 are effectively these two numbers right here. Okay, so we'll move past that one. And this is a very similar question as well. All right. Oh, wow. Lots of similar questions in this particular draw. So let's look at the other end of the spectrum. So this was a relatively confined question, just about step 3. We already were given rates. We did step 1 and step 2 for you. Whereas this one is going to be a question that we have to figure everything out for. This is a comprehensive question because I don't see any line that says TEU in there. It tells me what the total equivalent units are. I don't see any line in there that tells me a rate, a cost per equivalent unit number. So we're going to have to do all of that stuff in this question. So let's go over this. Is this all right? Good pick. And it's even a dumpling problem, which good for the mind, if not for the heart. Yeah. Got them all day. Don't worry. I'm full of jokes like that. All right, so this is we're going to do open answer dumpling problem. Yeah, I give them, sometimes I give them dumb names like dumpling problems. My hope is that it's like a memory kludge for you. Like it helps you, it stick in memory more because it's weird and different. So I'm okay with that. Let's get that all the way over. We have 18 in beginning WIP. All right, so I've noted, first of all, that we have a rule for determining direct materials. It's at 50% complete with respect to conversion costs. So we have 18 units beginning WIP, which are 0.31 or 31% complete with respect to conversion costs. Now that has not crossed the threshold yet, so that means that they're 0% complete with respect to direct materials. All right, we started 965 units. And we have an ending WIP 15 units, and they are 41% complete with respect to conversion costs, which, again, that's not quite past the 50% threshold. So that means that we have not added any of the direct materials. We haven't poured in the macaroni noodles. We haven't put in the dumplings, whatever it is. It's not yet at a boil. So we can continue now that we've written out all the terms that we need. Keep ourselves nice and organized. We can figure out units completed. I'll label that, just might need that. We'll need that later. Units completed right there, 968, which is, again, simply beginning WIP plus units started minus ending WIP. All the physical units right here. And then we are going to do TEU, which equals units completed, which we just figured out, plus ending WIP equivalent units. So we have our units completed, and we have ending WIP equivalent units with respect to conversion costs right here. EWIP, EU, CC, ending WIP. Yeah, the physical units in ending WIP times the percent complete with respect to conversion costs. And then we have 0 ending WIP equivalent units with respect to direct materials. And for consistency, I'm going to flip those around because I left to right are the percents here. And so top to bottom, I'll go DMCC. Sorry, dumb formatting thing I'm doing here. But anyway, those are still the same numbers, just I flipped them. And so our TEU, right here, TEU with respect to direct materials is units completed plus ending WIP, which is 0. Our TEU with respect to conversion costs is that units completed plus the ending WIP equivalent units, which is 6.15. So it equals 974.15 now. All right, so that's going to be our denominator for our two rates. And just for practice, I know I'm in weighted average method. I noted that in the problem as well, which means that the numerator is going to include the beginning WIP costs. Weighted average is not going to segregate those aside or care that they were the first in. Nope, cost is a cost. We're going to act like we kind of used that just like any other cost we incurred this period. So we have 288 is our BWIP DM cost. We have 595, we have 7362, we have 5990. Okay, and we can now say, we can now build the rates. This is our DM rate, our DM cost per equivalent unit, and our CC cost per equivalent unit by taking the sum. Like I said, we're going to include the beginning WIP costs as well as our current period costs for whatever cost category we're talking about. This is DM, direct materials, and divide it by the total equivalent units with respect to direct materials. So now we have our rate for direct materials. And I'm just going to copy that down because everything is just one cell down for conversion costs. We have beginning WIP conversion costs plus current period conversion costs in the numerator, those sum of those two, divided by total equivalent units with respect to conversion costs, giving us our conversion cost rate. So far, so good? All right. So now we need to figure out total cost of units completed and transferred out. Well, we figured out units completed back up here. And that's all we need for weighted average. Again, we've noted, hey, this is weighted average, not FIFO. So we're going to take this number right here. We're not going to try and figure out, well, how much of those units completed were completed with this period's rates, which we do in FIFO in a week or two from now. Oh, we can just take the units completed there, multiply it by the rate, take units completed, multiply it by the rate. So this is our DM cost for units completed. This is our CC cost for units completed. And our total cost of units completed would be the sum of those. So unless I mess something up along the way, this should be our answer right there. Yeah. This, yeah. Yeah, the sum of the two DM cost numbers, well, divided by the TEU with respect to direct materials up here. Okay. What parts of this should we go over a little bit more? What parts should we have questions about? Or less familiar with, less comfortable? Yeah.
What if it was direct material cost per units completed and transferred out? Would it be the DM cost per units completed?
Yep. It's that right there. Yeah. If I stop you, if the question's asking just to stop right there, you can just stop right there and that's the answer. No problem. I'll round it. Yeah. Right here or the rate? This one? Okay. So that's units completed times the rate. Okay. All right. What else we want to go over? Oh, yeah, Kiana. About this one or about? Yeah.
If the problem said the direct materials are added in the beginning of the process, would you
You would multiply them by, we'd change this up here. We'd say that means that the ending WIP 15 ending WIP units here have to be 100% complete with respect to conversion to direct materials, excuse me. And so we put 1 right there. And we put 1 up here as well, but it's not relevant for this question. We put 1 here and it changes all the numbers afterwards because now we have ending WIP complete units is equal to 15. And so that changes what our TEU is for direct materials, which changes our rate, then changes our numbers here. Oh, we don't have to keep. I just didn't do it. Sorry, I said it's not important to this question because it's weighted average. In weighted average, we use the beginning WIP numbers. Never, we never use them. So a 1 is accurate here. If it said all direct materials are at the beginning of the process, a 1 here for beginning WIP and a 1 here for ending WIP that's accurate and correct. Yes. No problem. Yeah. What? Sorry. What is that again? Conversion cost for units complete. Okay. Down here. or down here. Yes, that's right. Yeah, I'm multiplying it just by the units completed there. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you do that question you showed that next?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So let's go to that. If it's okay, let's move on from this one. All right. And do this problem right here. So this one is getting an ending whip, and it gives us some rates already. All right, so let's look at this. Let's look at this all the way through. Make sure we've noted everything we need to. So the department uses weighted average for process costing. All direct materials are added at the beginning of the process, and we have the following data. It looks like we have enough to make a T account of a units whip T account, and we have some rates provided for us. So they already did the TEU calculation and got to this point for us already. Now we need to do something with a T account because we'll need to figure out what to multiply these rates by, and we need this information to do that. So this is open answer, ending whip, DM at beginning problem. And so let's just try and build it. I'll copy over what I have here. And I'll put that back to 0 because that makes that answer correct now based on the previous problem's dumpling status. This one's not a dumpling problem. All right, so we have 245 units in beginning whip. We have 9,712 units started. We have 210 units in ending whip. And let's write in the percents complete with respect to conversion cost. Looks like 0.6, 60% right here. And 0.34 for the 34% right here. Okay, now if we need units completed, we have it right there. What we need instead, I'm going to grab these 3 cells right here. Stop. I'm going to grab these 2 cells. That's really all I need. That's 3 down. Right here. Okay, so we have our ending whip equivalent units with respect to direct materials are this 210 right here times the 100% complete that those units are with respect to direct materials based on this rule right here. So that's what that equals. And then our ending whip equivalent units with respect to conversion cost is that 210 times the 34%. So that 210 times now the 34% that we're given for conversion costs. All right, now we can take those two. We can copy down from the problem our $17 direct material cost per equivalent unit rate and our $24 cost per equivalent unit rate. And multiply. So this is our DM and ending whip. DM cost, I'll put a $sign. This is our conversion cost and ending whip. So it's asking for total cost ending whip, so we'll sum those two. That should be our answer right there. Which one, sorry? This 210 here? Yeah. The physical units in ending whip times the 100% complete that they are. No problem. Some things about process costing go against my nature. I'm often not interested in writing down all the details about things, but I've learned that my success rate with these problems is just so much higher when I'm like, oh, I'm going to write everything out that I can and just note down everything that's known about the problem. Just seems to help me a lot anyway. Maybe it'll help you too, but some of this information we don't need. We didn't need to figure out units completed. We didn't need to know about beginning whip stuff. For this problem, technically, you could take this information, right? Just this right here, this bullet point and this sentence to calculate out these two numbers, and then multiply those by the two rates, making sure you line up the right rate to the right number, right rate to the right equivalent unit number, I'm saying. And then you would have these numbers right here, and some of those you could do it fairly quickly if you're confident about, oh yeah, I'm not missing any steps. This is exactly how I do it. I've routinized and I've myelinated that process. Yeah, can't say that word very quickly. I think I was saying that a little tongue-in-cheek. I don't think you'll go through enough reps at these problems to really have them myelinated. That happens when you have truly repetitive actions that you've taken over time with your great practice. We're not getting near that level, I think. Okay. Let's put that question in. Let's put that answer in, and then make sure that we got it right when we submit. All right, this is just like what we did before, but it's just asking, stopping, like you said, Daniela. This one is very similar to that question, but now it's stopping just at direct material cost. So let's submit. Let's see if we got them right. We answered 3 questions. So we got 12.5 points. Is that right? Oh, well, one was a multiple choice question. The other 2 were open answer questions. We got both of those right. Good. So yes, 2 open answer questions for 5 points each and 1 multiple choice question for 2.5 points. Gives us 12.5 points. Great. All right, well, what do we want to do for 6-2? Any other things we want to look at? I see people shaking their heads. No. If you really want to look at something, though, we can. If you prefer, I've just been sitting by my computer every Friday here all day. And none of you say hi to me. It's like high school all over again. I'm just... Not really, I'm sorry. Seemed like the easy joke to go to with that one. But if you have a question on 6-2, you can bring it up for the rest of the class too. If we need to go back, we can go back to it. And you of course can email me and say, hey, this problem I'm really having trouble with, or it's a step I can't quite get, or I need a reminder, or something you can help me with to know how I should remember this kind of thing. Let's make that big. So let's go to 6-3, which is for next week. Let's do February 24th. That's next Friday. And let's start looking at this. I zoned out for I don't know, 15, 20 seconds when one of the problems was up there, and I was letting you decide whether you wanted to ask questions about it. Because I was wondering if I needed to add some sort of a buffer in between going over 6-2 problems and going over 6-3 problems, because it's weighted average versus FIFO. And I don't know if I didn't have it planned. I was just thinking about it in class. Maybe I should have planned to put something in there, some funny video, or, if I really was trying to be ambitious, something with an educational content to it. But instead, I will just say, you got to do what you got to do to keep all the different parameters of the systems separate. So, however you have to mentally separate those in your brain library, do that. We're going to now transition over into FIFO process costing. So, if you still have lots of 6-2 reps you want to take, don't let our starting to go over what's next week contaminate your attempts on 6-2 here. It's a different set of rules with FIFO, ever so slightly, but that's actually worse, ever so slightly. So they'll be very close together in your brain. And it'll be very easy to say, oh, well, no, it's, yeah, that looks like it. Yeah, that looks like it. It's in that, gonna have that, yeah, anyway. Okay, so let's go over some problems here. Let me go over one or two, and then I think I'm on one or two where I have you try it to kind of get those FIFO gears turning. And I want to go over a TEU problem first. That's the first step. This is good. We got a double whammy TEU problem here. I think, if we can answer it. All right. So here we have Springfield Spring Makers Incorporated. Use process costing to determine the cost of inventory. Okay, so it's a process costing problem, and it uses the FIFO method. Actually, FIFO method will be enough to tell you we only go over the FIFO method with respect to process costing in this class. So maybe that'll be enough to cue you into what the question is going to be asking. The firm has the following inventory amounts. Okay, so this is all the data for the firm, this table here, and this sentence right here. So let me jump to the question stem. It says I need total equivalent units for direct materials and conversion costs. So, okay, we got TEU, and I'm going to have to do it twice, once for conversion costs and once for direct materials. Let's look at this information here. Well, this sentence, it's all dollar amounts, and that's about step two. Those might be numerator amounts for step two. I'm gonna put a pin in those. I'm just gonna focus on what's in this table right here. So let's build up a spreadsheet on this. So this is 6-2 practice, 6-3 practice, FIFO, do not eat. Okay, yeah, that's my attempt to warn you not to do this 6-3 stuff we're doing on the quiz that's due tomorrow. So yeah, I was going to go over, this is Springfield, TEU, DM, and CC problem. So we have 0 physical units in beginning WIP. We have 500 units completed, and we have 50 units in ending WIP. And they are 0.25, 25% complete. These 50 units are 25% complete with respect to direct materials. And they are 50% complete with respect to conversion costs, just pulling off the table right here. And we don't have any information about the beginning WIP units, but there are 0 of them. So their percent complete would be 0 anyway if we had a percent complete for 0. Oh, wow. It's a philosophical paradox right there. So we need TEU. And in FIFO land, TEU equals units completed minus beginning WIP equivalent units plus ending WIP equivalent units. All right, well, we have our units completed provided to us. We were sure to look at this, and I made a promise. I think this question was not in that promise. I fulfilled that promise on 6-2 or 6-1, but not here. I'm going to bold this because very often that space says units started. So you get beginning WIP physical units, then units started, then ending WIP physical units. And this is a departure from that. And I don't think it's a pedagogical win for you to miss this problem because you're used to me doing things a certain way usually, and this is the one exception that's weird. I don't think that's a good use of the assessment. So I'm going to bold that to highlight that that's a little different from what we're used to. Specifically the Springfield problems. Okay. So we have units completed, which equals 500. We have beginning WIP equivalent units, which is 0 because there are no units in beginning WIP. And we have our ending WIP equivalent units, which we're going to have an any WIP equivalent units for materials and an any WIP equivalent units for conversion costs. So we have 50 units that are 25% complete, meaning 12.5 equivalent units with regard to direct materials, with respect to direct materials. And 50 units that are 50% complete means 25 equivalent units in any WIP with respect to conversion costs. So our TEU for direct materials and our TEU for conversion costs. I will make sure I do the full thing. Units completed minus the 0 here for beginning WIP plus the ending WIP equivalent units. Just followed this equation here. Units completed minus beginning WIP equivalent units plus ending WIP equivalent units. All right, same thing for here. Units completed minus the beginning WIP plus the ending WIP equivalent units. So that should be our answer here. Let's see which one that is. Direct materials 512.5, conversion costs 525. Excellent. So, would this problem be any different if we forgot it was a FIFO problem and did it as if it were a weighted average problem? Would we get the same answer or different answers? Yeah. Yes. So I would love to claim credit, but it was by accident that I picked this question, and it's the perfect bridging question because it shows when they would be the same, the two methods. It's all about the difference in what you do with beginning WIP. FIFO and weighted average do everything else essentially the same. They just treat beginning WIP costs and equivalent units differently. And when there are no beginning WIP units, means there can't be any costs. They will produce the exact same answer. In fact, I think when I brought this one over from the template of this problem that was in 6-1, I thought that very thought. I'm like, I'm going to put FIFO method. I'm going to leave the answer the same because it will be the same because there are no beginning WIP costs. Yeah, go ahead.
So if it were to have a number for beginning WIP, how would we calculate beginning WIP?
So if it had a number of how many there were, let's say there are 100 beginning WIP units, and we would need to know their percents complete with respect to the different.
So we can't calculate.
We would not be able to calculate it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not with this information, not yet. But because it's 0, we know that there's no way it could have any percent completion. There's no unit to even start it. Okay. So let's try a rate problem where we have to calculate a rate. Oh, well, these two will be just fine, I think. Let's go with smaller numbers. All right, so this one is asking for the cost per equivalent unit with respect to direct materials. All right, so the Everclean Refinery Company uses a FIFO process costing system to account for its refinery operations. Data from the month of October is presented in the table below. All right, so here's the table. And we're looking for direct materials cost per equivalent unit. So we've been given total equivalent units, which is our denominator for our rate calculations. This, we assume, and you should assume, was calculated in accordance with the FIFO equation. This includes everything it needs to include. We ended up with 27,250 when we did that. So we're at Everclean rates, DM rate. We have 27,250 is our TEU with respect to direct materials. And we have to decide what to include in the numerator. So do we remember what FIFO includes in the numerator? Does it include 2,500? That beginning WIP cost. Does it include 52,000? Current period cost. Does it include both of those? Does it include any number you want, like your favorite 5 numbers? Yes. Yeah. What does it include? Yeah. Yeah, just the current period cost. FIFO sets those first in costs 2,500 aside because they're going to be first out. We got to make sure none of those costs get an ending WIP. Then they wouldn't be first out. They're not out at all. They're still in process. It can't let that happen. So it's not going to include them in the rate that's going to determine how much cost goes into ending WIP, the dollars that go into ending WIP. So it sets them aside, and then we're just going to use the 52,000. Excellent. Okay. That's our current DM costs. This divided by this gives us 1.91 it rounds to. And if we had included it goes to 2 even. That's what this distractor says. And I think the other is if you did conversion costs instead. I think the 4.42 is the conversion cost. If you accidentally included beginning WIP is 4.42, and the 4.28 is if you did conversion costs but did it correctly, but you're answering the wrong thing. Okay. Yeah.
So for this one, the work in process cost is beginning work in process because it's the beginning of the period.
Yep.
I was just curious since it's not labeled as beginning, it's just work in process, but
Yeah, sometimes I include the dates just the idea that that's the to interpret it as beginning WIP costs. Yeah. So yeah, this is what the cost was at the beginning of the day. October 1st is the idea, and we added some costs during October. Now I was looking at it now, and I could see somebody worrying, at least when they see it. Is this the end of the day, October 1st, or something like that? Every time I say that, it means beginning WIP costs in this problem. Yeah. Fair question. Good thing to double check. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Yeah.
so the total quarterly units does not include
Yeah, it does not include the equivalent units in beginning WIP. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So that's why we can remove the work in process costs from the beginning of the period.
Yeah. We're holding it aside. That's exactly right. Yeah. We're holding aside the costs from the numerator. We're holding aside the equivalent units that are associated with those costs from the denominator. So the rates are just about what's done this period's work. Yeah. There's some. It's gonna sound dumb. There's some beauty to the system. Or maybe it's Stockholm syndrome. I don't know. I at some point I start to like how they do it. It's just I know that there are a million steps, and so I do not. Just because I say it's beautiful doesn't mean there won't be moments where you're like, "Ugh," when you do the quiz questions. So I want to put that out there. All right, let's see if we can find something, one more at least. We can do a little more on, a little more work for, let's say it that way. Okay, so as far as 6-3 goes, this is as comprehensive a problem as we can get, and I want to leave you to it. So I'm going to pull the Excel over here and give you a few minutes here to do, where we go? This question? This question here. Go big. All right, there. Did you say? Oh, okay, good. So let's just leave it. Yeah, go ahead and work at this question here. Give you a couple minutes. I'll work on it over here in my Excel file. I'll see how we do. All right, who wants a little more time? Just a little more? Okay. All right. Any brave souls want to give their answer for what they got? For direct material cost per equivalent unit, this department? Yeah. That's what I got too. Good. And what's got 1362? It's very close. That's not bad. 1385. Okay. You gotta be close without going over, I think is the rule, right? No, that's not quite. It's wrong game. 13.62 is what I got. Okay. So Samantha, how did you do that?
I did what was the video complete and ending with all the other data on the screen.
Because of this rule, and they're all past the threshold.
So
Okay.
I did the total equivalent units of the completed plus the beginning with plus the ending with.
Okay.
And then I did my numerator of the current cost per month divided by my total equivalent units of 8,400 to end up at $13.
Excellent. One of the things I heard that you didn't say, but you did point out as a great thing you did is you ignored a lot of distracting stuff in the question, which is great. Yeah. So first thing is like you said, we can figure out what the percent complete with respect to direct materials is by looking at this rule. So it's a dumpling one, but it's got a very quick boiling point or something. It's very early on in the process. We add all the direct materials, 19%, and the conversion costs for beginning and ending WIP are well past that threshold. So all direct materials have been added for all the units in beginning WIP and all the units in ending WIP. And so when we create our T account, here, we know that they're 100% complete. When we calculate units completed using our typical method here, and we take the units completed, subtract away the beginning WIP, which I added in the times 1 just to be a little anal about it, and then adding the ending WIP times 1, or just ending WIP here, and end up with this denominator, and then you just take the current direct material cost as the numerator, and you end up with the rate right there. Did some of those other numbers might have come, especially if it was higher, might have been including the beginning WIP costs?
Yeah.
That was one of the things that happened? Okay. I added here in case there's a question you come across next week. This is next week's quiz. That is about conversion costs, how you would do that, which is the same process, just it has different percents complete. Now you have to take that 212 and multiply by 42%, and that 250 and multiply by 87% right here. And now you would take the conversion costs. And this would be, if the question asked about conversion costs, it would be 10.21 right down here. The rate. Yeah, Dylan.
So I just want to like units completed, it's still just beginning plus started minus ending. It's only the TEU equation that's the big change.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Units completed is we might want to call it like physical units completed. Like it's all about the physical units. Nothing equivalentized. Yeah, no equivalent units involved. Okay. Good. I think we made good progress today. Yeah, Brennan.
Can you show the formula for the
Done here?
Yeah.
I just took the numerator current costs divided by the TEU. Did you want to see either of those? Yeah. Units completed minus the product of these two up here, the beginning whip equivalent units, and then plus the ending whip equivalent units. Just in cell form, doing what's here in this equation in cell D30. Yeah. Okay.
So we did step 1 and step 2.
Yeah, this was a step 1 and step 2. Yeah.
That's the extent of this quiz.
6-3. Yeah, we'll do just step 1 and step 2. It's the 502 step. Yeah, that's it. Just like we had 6-1 was just step 1 and step 2 with regard to weighted average. 6-3 is going to be step 1 and step 2 with regard to FIFO now. Okay. All right. Well, what other questions do you have? I don't hate prefacing it that way because I made it sound very much like we're about to end. And now if you have a question, you're like, but everyone's going to hate me now because I'm not letting us end. But if you have a question, no one will. I won't hate you, at least. I can't control what they say. Yeah. Is it right here? Yep. Yeah. Yeah, no problem. Okay, you're done.
Just want to double check for FIFO TEU, it's getting started plus our ending whip equivalent units minus our beginning.
Yep, exactly. I wrote the order differently here, but it's the same mathematically. Yes. I like to write it this way because later on, I need to take units completed minus beginning whip equivalent units to apply this period's rates to that figure. I'm going to take I write in this order usually because I like to remind myself of that. Anyway, but you don't have to. Nothing requiring you to do that. Okay. Well, let's be done then. All right. Again, we got 6-2, which is weighted average. Take all your FIFO knowledge, put it in a drawer till the end of the day, Friday. Go back to weighted average knowledge. 6-2 is step 3 and comprehensive problems in weighted average, and it's due tomorrow. I'm happy to take questions about that via email, or if you've got a question right now, you can come over here. I'll turn the cameras off.